to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 63. As we'll dive into it, some big news this week in the Warzone, long-awaited change that the community's been crying out for, some other little bits of information, and some changes looking to be coming on the horizon. So we'll be diving into all of that. Tron here's playtime a little bit kneecapped this week, as the old dad schedule is coming on strong, but still was able to squeeze in some dubs, still slaying it as you can imagine. But enough about me. Let me turn to my co-host, the 10InchCowboy, who I think had a bit more time this week in the Warzone. And I'm going to ask you, Cowboy, how was it for you this week?
Yeah. The week was good. Played a lot this week, actually. I played a bunch of Rebirth. Also got back into Caldera with a couple of new changes on the horizon and on the, under our feet, not necessarily in front of us on the horizon. Changes happening now. I had to dig in there and figure out what was going on, and pleasant surprises on the big map in Caldera. It was a good week. Yeah, didn't get to play with you. Hoping you can sort your priorities a little bit straighter here moving forward. I'm not sure what's going on in your life that's going to preclude you from playing this game with me. But yeah, I don't know if I think we got a couple games in this week. I think we got a couple victories actually this week. But yes, it is still very sweaty. Both places, everywhere. Frustrating times, good times. Had an incredible duos win, which I wish was with you, but with friend of the pod, Sparks, in the new game mode, which is the mini royale duos on Rebirth Island. I might have to post that one to the Patreon because it was an incredible clutch Sparks had, and a great, you don't get a lot of duos victories. It's hard to win those matchups. So that was certainly the highlight of my week. What about you? Did you have any highlights?
Well, to backtrack to that victory, I think I saw the clip. Is that where it was 1v1, he was downed and he rezzed and popped up as the final enemy was running out of...
that was, again, okay, so that was a different game where actually he was getting rezzed by someone else. He wasn't using a self. So he was getting rezzed, and he just happened that the notable part of this clip, if I can paint a picture, is he is laying there getting rezzed with the gas approaching him. It was a final circle situation, and it was 2v1 where the two teammates that were alive, Sparks being the one getting rezzed, another person was hiding in the gas. I think they had rezzed as well in the gas, so they were running for their lives out of the gas, and it just so happened the way that his camera angle where his field of view was happened to be right where this guy was running up, so it looks like this guy is charging from like 20-30 meters out, running right at Sparks, and Sparks is getting rezzed. As soon as he comes up, he just fires one bullet at this guy who's hanging on for his dear life, and he kills him in the gas. And it was just kind of a weird, the way he was looking, the guy was running up at him. It was kind of a weird situation. No, I'm talking about it again. It was Sparks and I. Sparks and I played a lot this week together, but this was a 2v1 clutch he had that was pretty impressive. Ended down in the security region of Rebirth. He was up high by living quarters, two guys down low. He ended up using a combat bow to down one of them and then pushed like a champion, no fear, and then basically killed the guys when they were rezzing, and it was pretty unbelievable.
Well, I certainly want to check that out. I got to imagine our patrons want to check that out. And if you want to check that out there, you should become a patron, because we have been steadily posting our wins of the week. We're going to be announcing, not on this episode, but hopefully next week, we're going to be announcing our next upcoming custom game, and as part of that, we're going to be making sure that we squad up with all of our patrons, or as many as we can during that. Again, we kind of want to give some perks. We're not trying to create like a Warzone pay-to-play situation here, but we got to plug it, man. Help us turn the lights on. We just had to pay for our hosting for the year. It's kind of not cheap. So, as we said, help us keep the lights on, keep this thing going. We love all you who are patrons, and sending love to those who are going to be coming down the line.
Yeah, didn't realize it's a triple-digit situation having to own and operate and host a website, but that's not what this podcast is about. It's about shredding ass in the war zone, so let's get back to that.
let's get back to that. Kind of interesting it's been so far with Vanguard. It felt like, for weeks and weeks, every week we did this podcast, I had kind of a blank spot on the agenda that would always be filled, and that was, what was the latest patch? Let's dive into that. But so far with Vanguard, haven't really been seeing that. I mean, it seems like there are weekly patches, but really minimal. Like, a few little eraser marks on the painting here, a few little dust ups there, but no, we haven't seen weapons tuning for some weeks now. We haven't seen any major additions, any shakeups, any, tweaks. And so I'm curious if you think, is that because the game's in a real well-balanced state, or as we talked about last week with the big reveal of Warzone 2 under development, are they shifting resources there? Or even a third option is, are they shifting resources towards the upcoming Call of Duty 2022?
And then the fourth option is, are they hung over from the acquisition?
Yes.
So let's not forget about that. I think,
of course,
though, I think it's a combination of all of those. It's an interesting point. I didn't really know we were going to talk about this, and I didn't really, do a lot of show prep there. But just if I'm going to improv here, I would imagine that, the guns are pretty balanced, right? Once they kind of nerfed the Bren and they kind of even the playing field all around there, you got to be excited. It seems like there's a pretty balanced weapon situation right now in the Warzone. So, the weekly updates aren't maybe necessarily needed there. I do think, well, you just mentioned, I don't know if it was option 2 or option 3, but, they have announced this Warzone 2. They've announced this big thing that is like a lot. And I doubt that they're hiring an entire new team to work on that. It's going to be the same motherfuckers that have been working on Warzone are going to Warzone 2, I'm assuming. So I don't know. Maybe they're just writing this out. It seems to be working well. People are buying stuff in game. Why fix it if it ain't broken? It's like the only thing people have been crying out for really is what we're going to talk about next, which is the loadout purchasing delay, which has now been removed. So yeah, I mean, the game seems to be in a good spot unless you're going to add it, you're adding new gameplay modes, you're going to add a new map. Like, what else is there for them to do right now?
Well, I guess I agree. I do think the weapon balancing is in a good place, though I do think there's a few maybe outliers that could use perhaps a nerf, very like minor nerf, like maybe the STG, the MP40 still kind of really dominating there.
Yeah, but I'm running into guys still using the OTS. I'm running into people with MAC 10s. It's not as black and white a weapon front as it has been in the past. It is pretty diverse.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And that was going to be my next note before I got cut off but I am seeing the Rams making a comeback. I've had people in the Discord plug in the old, M13. I'm seeing the M4A1 slaying around on some dead bodies after I fucking killed the shit out of them. As you said, the MAC 10, the OTS 9, and the Owen gun step into the forefront too for Vanguard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say meta's in a good place.
Also,
no real priorities there.
The car, I've seen a lot of cars on the ground, a lot of people sniping. Definitely that's the go-to sniper, still no question in there.
Yeah, and the Swiss.
Yeah.
But that said, we kind of had the lead buried in there in your last response, and that was the big, massive change this week. The fan favorite, the community, you could hear them cheering from across the street when you heard the news. You heard your neighbors getting up, applauding with nobody in particular listening, but you could hear it. And that was that Raven came out and reversed course here. And I guess, maybe they recognized they done fucked up, but they came out and loadouts are now available for purchasing at any time except for in Vanguard Royale game modes, and those who still have the existing restrictions. But otherwise, you can buy your loadout as soon as you get $10,000 now. What are your thoughts on this? How is it, your feelings, first impressions of this monumental decision?
Well, a lot of the people we consistently play with don't necessarily go to Caldera regularly anymore. And this week, certainly there was more enthusiasm within our little community to go on to Caldera, which is a win, because you want to not just be totally shut out from one of the main, maps. It's a total joke. So it was exciting, played Caldera, and it makes it a lot more fun to get your loadout immediately. The loot is, you get your loadout in the first 30 seconds, it seems like, especially if you're playing with a quad. You find $10,000 like that, It's not hard to get your loadout. So it definitely changes the gameplay on Caldera. Then it gets into a conversation. Okay, now because everybody prefaced how do you like Caldera with, well, it fucking sucks that you can't get your loadout, But now it's like, now people I feel like are actually thinking more critically about how do we like the map. It's a tough map. Really easy to get caught with your pants down, just outside the cornfield and just get absolutely destroyed by teams that are waiting for you. So it was fun. It's also really difficult. I think the sweats are now moving back to Caldera because I feel like last week, the week before our last pod, there were a lot of really good players on Rebirth, hoping that it draws some of those good players back to Caldera now that you can get your loadout earlier. But it's a fun map. I don't have the disdain towards Caldera that a lot of the friends of the pod and listeners of the pod have. I don't mind it all that much because I'm getting slapped around any map I'm on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the abuse is just consistent. It doesn't matter the setting for the cowboy.
Well, I'd like to say both
skies.
of us. I wouldn't just say me, but I mean.
Well, that's your thoughts there.
Wow.
But that said, I'm with you. I mean, obviously, great change, but they were listening. Clearly, it was an overwhelming, consensus among the community. Bring it back. That said, kind of what struck me is I think people were putting too much emphasis on okay, now this change is made. Has it really fundamentally changed the Battle Royale experience? After the first circle, essentially that everything's as it was. So to me, I've played Caldera since this has happened. It's definitely great to have the loadout off the rip. It's much more motivation. You got more vigor once you have that loadout going out, getting in engagements as opposed to waiting around kind of your areas or burning UAVs, but still not really engaging much. But that said, it's to me, it's still same old Warzone, so I applaud the change, but I also think the community was kind of a little too aggressive with we need this to fix Warzone type of thing. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
I'm going to take the other side of this. It is a waste of time to drop in there and not have your loadout when you have the resources to purchase it. I think that it does mess with the feng shui and the unfolding of the Battle Royale experience when you can't get the guns that you want. There's something psychological that happens when you have your loadout. There's no more excuses. You're ready to go, True. And I think that it really, it's a long waiting. That was a longer waiting period than I think they intended it to be some kind of speed bump in getting your game, to maybe even the playing field. So there were more skirmishes that were based off of loot. I don't know what the point was, but I feel like it was too long overall. So getting your loadout immediately, I actually think it has a profound impact on the unfolding of the Battle Royale experience. Because now once you get kitted with your team, it's the battle begins. You're not waiting. I think it actually is, you're underselling it. I personally think it's really important to have that loadout earlier than later. And I think it does fundamentally change the experience.
That's an interesting argument. I think it's compelling thoughts there. I just personally I'm not that enthralled with Caldera, and it did help my enjoyment, but kind of disappointing for me. Still, I don't know. I'm just not in love with that game mode. I mean, not that I was in love with Verdansk, but I would start to get hungry for Verdansk. Let me get back there. Let me get at it. You'd still have some good rounds where you'd be really loving it. You'd have areas of the map that you really kind of enjoyed. We'd go dropping Promenade. I fucking love that shit. Whereas now it's yeah, let's run some Caldera. And then okay, that was fun, but I don't know. I can't get in the same type of momentum I feel like in Caldera. It's just, it's a little more, it's just too wide open, I think.
Yeah. I wonder, let me ask you this. What would be, do you think I guess the question is it that the map, you're not in love with the map? Or is it that because obviously we love Rebirth too. I mean, anyone that's listened to this podcast once knows that you and I love Rebirth Island. Would the game be better served if there was a collection of smaller maps that all had the Battle Royale component to them, and you could randomly get assigned, multiplayer is randomly assigned to all these different little maps? would that be a better mechanic, or having one large map that you're forced to play on that's bigger and more people and it's a longer game and it's more probably rewarding when you win, but it's not as, versatile? Like, it's live or die by that map. You see what I'm getting at? Which would you rather have? Because it doesn't seem incomprehensible that they could make smaller maps, or like they could expand the multiplayer maps to make them with the Battle Royale component. You see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I've never really considered if they pivoted towards something like that. To me, I think I prefer a big map for Battle Royale. I like the huge player counts. I like, having to survive and really move around, and the circles, creates different games each round depending on the circles and the rotations. But to me, I ultimately, in hindsight, we're a season in essentially here. Season's 2's coming right down the pipeline. I think Caldera's kind of been a miss. Like, I think it's a good map in terms of the attention to detail, the design, but I just don't think it fundamentally fits with like the style of play that Warzone lends itself to, especially squad-based Warzone. I haven't really played solos on it, and I guess I haven't done a ton of duos either, which kind of maybe is a little more fun, but I think for the big squad, 4s, 3s, I just don't know if it's working like it should. There's just so much traversing of open space and so much like climbing of hills, and kind of you find yourself in really disadvantaged positions, I feel like, way more often than this game.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my, what's it called? The retrospective here after a few months. But
well,
again,
what's interesting? I just kind of was thinking about what you were saying, and maybe it's because of the lack of structures on the map. Obviously, like the resorts and the sub pens, there's a lot of structures on Caldera. I mean, not as many structures, like physical structures, I feel like, as Verdansk, because there's so many like hut buildings and shit. But if when we're on Rebirth, we're pushing teams. We're talking about, there's a team over there, let's push that team. It's, I don't feel like you find yourself pushing as much on Caldera because of the open nature of the map. Do you see what I'm getting at? It's like a different way of playing,
Yeah, I feel like you're way more disadvantaged when you're on the move in this game. I agree. It lends itself to more camping, to more teams kind of playing like cat and mouse, hide and seek type of thing, where you just, how many times are you dying? We're literally like, okay, I'm going to make a move now. And then, oh, nope, there was someone fucking waiting for me. And now I'm in the middle of a field and I got nowhere to go and I'm fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are better than us, frankly. I mean, or me, I guess. I don't know where you're lying now on your confidence scale, but it seems that people are just better and they get the best. I just get destroyed so quickly on Caldera. I don't know where it comes from. All of a sudden, I'm dead,
And I mean, so much of the experience on Verdansk was like squad. You find a team holed up in a building, a fire station, a police station, one of the towers, and like you would kind of have that. Okay, we're gonna push this team, mano a mano, defend versus attack type of situation. Whereas I feel like those scenarios, they're just way less frequent in this game. It's so much more of fucking being third partied or sneaking up on a team, catching them by surprise, as opposed to like, we're going to go toe to toe. This team knows we're here. We know they're there, and they know we're going to be rumbling. Like, let's fucking do this. Let's see who comes out on top. I just feel like that type of situation, it's just not as frequent. Like the close quarters, the pushing, coordinating, attacking a team. I'll go high, you go low type of thing. It's just, to me, it's not as frequent.
You know what? Where I've actually found the most enjoyment in like those types of skirmishes on Caldera is Capital. Capital, I've had those, and I feel like we've had a couple of those where you're actually having like building to building battles. You're like pushing staircases. But aside from that, and like resort and subpen, but even subpen, I feel like you're just pushing people on the roof there, and then like you're either, well, we're usually dying, but yeah. Not a lot. It's just it's a different gameplay, and I don't know if it's that we aren't accustomed to it yet, so we're not enjoying it as much. We had Verdansk for a year and change, right? Or like a year and a half. How long did we have Verdansk for? We had it for a long time. So we got,
over a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah, so we got to know that map, and it became like, like a it became our like proving grounds. I think there's a lot of nostalgia in that map. And let's not forget
True.
how much we fucking hated that map at
True.
the end and we wanted something else, you know?
Fair.
So
However,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Time will tell.
Again, I don't think Caldera is going to be around as long as Verdansk was, considering, you know, if the rumors are true, Warzone 2 is under development and it's coming next year, but we shall see. That said, we told you we're going to be keeping tabs on this whole acquisition of Activision and Blizzard by Microsoft. Well, a new Bloomberg report this week stated that it's actually, we mentioned, the SEC hasn't even commented on this merger. It's likely to happen. Well, it came out that actually it's going to be the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, not the SEC, and not the Justice Department, that's going to be investigating Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Apparently, the report said that the FTC has been claiming they will be more aggressive in the review of deals that impact a fair market. Any thoughts on that?
I don't think that this is going to change anything. I don't think anything's like this. I don't know. These things like this get said, but then nothing happens. Do you really think this is going to affect anything?
I mean, money reigns supreme in this country. Competition's fucking gone. You know, it's just behemoths. Every industry's dominated by fucking behemoths. It's all homogenized. I don't want to rant too much, but that's Tron's feelings.
Yeah, I think this is what happens, and I think, as you just said, somebody really a lot smarter than me once told me the answer to all your questions is money, and I think that money is going to fuel this, and it's going to go through, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. So, yeah, I don't have much to say.
All right, well, no news beyond that. However, kind of adjacent, which we're not going to dive into it because this is the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, not the Gaming Amateur Hour podcast, as of now. But Sony, consequently this week, acquired Bungie, which is most famous for being the studio that created the original Halo and Halo 2. For the record, Bungie no longer works on Halo. Sony doesn't fucking own Halo now. Anything like that. Bungie has actually solely been developing the game Destiny, which is a large-scale multiplayer game as well. But just kind of ironic that, everyone was, if a year ago you had polled people like, oh, one of these companies is going to acquire Activision, one of these companies is going to acquire Bungie, everyone probably would have said, oh, Sony's going to get Activision, and Microsoft will get Bungie, but no, it's been reversed.
Yeah, that is fascinating, huh? So I don't know anything about Destiny. Is that game already out, or is that a kind of to-come game?
So Destiny was a smash hit, then Destiny 2 came out. I've never played it myself. I've heard a lot of people who really enjoy it. They said Sony's really trying to bolster like its multiplayer kind of offerings. They've confirmed the games, Destiny's, will remain multi-platform. They're not going to try and take them exclusive. But just wanted to throw that out there as, clearly these two behemoths in the gaming world are starting to try and, acquire more chess pieces up their arsenal. Hopefully, though, for us players, it doesn't mean more exclusivity. It just means, more support for these companies and better offerings.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll just say it right now, no shame in a self-plug. If Sony or Microsoft want to purchase the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, like, we're open to an acquisition of this type. If there becomes like a blow-by-blow bidding war, like, I prefer Sony just because I play on the PlayStation 5, but hey, listen, Microsoft, I'm not opposed. If you want to send me a PC and, buy the podcast, I'm not opposed to that either. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you're on the same page.
Well, that said, I just need to, emphasize, no matter who pays the bills, we will maintain our, journalistic, our independence in terms of, because we're going to be talking a lot of shit no matter who pays the bills.
Yeah, I mean, but if the price is right, the 10-inch Cowboy is willing to sell out. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow, the man who for months had accused me of being a pawn of a lackey, a puppet for, Activision, has now welcomed such things for his own self here.
Well, I see how it turns out for you. Now you have, beautiful babies. Your life just all seems to be in order. I see what happens when you get the big sponsor on your back and you wear that on your jersey. So let me into the gameplay, baby.
Well, that is just too outlandish and bizarre for me to dive into, so we're going to keep moving along. We just talked about developers. Well, speaking of, this was many of the times, as we said, the leaking community in Warzone and Call of Duty seems to be fairly accurate. They're plugged in, but as expected and kind of seemed to be a foregone conclusion, but now is official that Infinity Ward is confirmed as the developer on the new Call of Duty 2022. For reference, Infinity Ward is the same team that brought us Modern Warfare 19, which is the engine for Warzone, which was like the game changer. I personally love Modern Warfare 19. I know it's a bit divisive in the community. So you can expect that level of, what you expect from Infinity Ward. That's coming for the next Call of Duty, which means, as we kind of, it seems like, more than likely is they're going to kind of be setting the foundation for Warzone 2 as well.
That seems like a no-brainer, right? I feel like, that's how it should be. These guys have done good work. Like, no one's complaining about their past work. It makes sense. It seems like this is kind of just like a check of the box,
Well, yeah, in terms of development cycles, they do kind of alternate, in certain, developers are in charge of kind of certain Call of Duty style games, like the Black Ops series is typically handled by, as we've seen, Raven, Sledgehammer, some of these other guys, whereas the Modern Warfare series, more than often, is by Infinity Ward. So yeah, it's confirmed, but again, we'll be keeping tabs. No new news on that, no title for it, no any major details dropping, but I believe, Vanguard's now several months old, maybe almost 6 months. We got to be seeing some marketing, some leaks, and official releases coming out to tease their upcoming offering.
Sorry, let me step back here. Infinity Ward, did they do Vanguard?
No, they did Modern Warfare 19.
Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Okay. And I had never played that version of this game. Did you play 19?
On the free multiplayer weekends, baby.
Was it, and you enjoyed it?
Yeah, you never did Shipment and did your growl and all that?
That's them?
That's Modern Warfare 19. That is Infinity Ward's work, sir.
Oh, I did enjoy that. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
all those guns, those were crafted, balanced by Infinity Ward, I believe. Although I've heard Raven actually has been maintaining Warzone patches and stuff throughout, so I'm not sure. Again, not a gaming guy, not plugged into this world. But that's their handiwork there.
Well, good. I like their stuff.
Well, in terms of what we're experiencing now, in terms of Vanguard and additions, it's not yet official, but it's been confirmed that coming Season 2, they're going to be introducing a new vehicle, which is going to be a bomber plane that can now seat 4 players.
That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen for us. Our whole team will get wiped when we start trying to learn how to use these planes. That's my initial thoughts. What about you?
Well, I think it goes back to something we talked about, is these planes, I believe they're only available in Vanguard, game modes, Royale, which means only Vanguard guns, and there's no fucking rocket that can lock onto these guys. So I'm with you. It sounds like it's just going to be a balancing issue, which people that are good in the planes can dominate already. I've seen some of the streamers out there, specifically Iceman Isaac, who loves to fly, dominates in the airs, is like, look, these lobbies are going to be fucked when this happens. I guess the question is, like, what are those other 3 people going to be doing? Are they all going to have guns? Like, or you just sit there?
Well, it's a bomber plane. Don't they drop bombs?
I guess, but like all 3 guys, what do you just hit the button and the bomb drops? Do you aim the bombs? Is it like a rocket propelled bomb? I don't know.
It would be really cool if you could shoot like a missile, right? And I don't know if this is like World War II accurate. Don't come at me. I'm just saying, I don't know. But like if you could shoot it and then you could control the bomb falling like you could in multiplayer when you would get those kill streaks, and it would kind of that same mechanic. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. You can aim it.
As it's falling, you can control it falling to try to hit like somebody beneath you, which would be really cool.
I don't know. I think if anything, they need to be balancing the game. Focus on the fucking boots on the ground, not in the sky. I guess it's cool. It's new, and those people that play. But to me, I'm not a huge fan of this added element of aerials. I think it should have been purely like for transporting, like the helicopter. I don't even think the gunner helicopter, I think that was a stupid idea, and I was so glad that was always taken out immediately because of the glitches that it led to. I think you leave the airspace for transport only. Make it a high risk, high reward type of thing. You can traverse, far amounts of space in short times, but you're vulnerable. And when you get shot out of the plane, then you're just fucking, you got to dive down or parachute. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think that the idea of this being high risk, high reward, if your entire team is in that is pretty high risk. Like, you're at any moment, if you could crash, you're all dead. If someone hits you with the rocket or something, if that can happen, you're all dead. Maybe they introduce, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's pretty high risk whenever you have your entire group, your entire squad in a vehicle.
I guess, but I think a, pilot who's worth two shits, they're not going to crash. And what are you really vulnerable to? Maybe another plane, but yeah, like the rockets we talked about. You really think somebody's going to be hitting a moving fucking plane from the ground with one of these rockets?
Yeah.
Like maybe once in a blue moon, but come on.
Yeah, the rockets are the new rocket games or the rocket weapons are really bad.
Whereas like, I don't know, like the whole trophy system thing, the flares, that was cool as shit. Like, you'd fly a helicopter, and if you didn't have a trophy, it'd be kind of scary. And then when you'd fucking see, like, rocket inbounds, your heart would race. You would be like, oh, God!
Yeah, that was cool. It sucks that they don't have that anymore. It really does.
Doesn't exist anymore. That experience, gone.
Yeah, that's sad. That is sad. I hear you on that.
So that's kind of the new addition. Again, we're waiting on details for Season 2. That should be a huge dive into that next week, since they've said the release date's going to be February 14th for Season 2. And we saw one new gun in Season 1, some minor patches, and got to expect, hopefully, that there's going to be some big additions, but no real news yet beyond that. That said, some good news in the Warzone where it seemed like cheating was kind of creeping up. We talked about flying cars. On February 3rd, though, I saw a tweet that was saying there appears to have been a large ban wave in Warzone today as cheater Telegram channels are seeing increased messages about hackers complaining that they've been banned.
Get them out of here. Who gives a shit?
You love to hear news like that, though. Those are the tears that'll just fuel your dreams that taste like candy raindrops from the sky. To hear these little chump losers that spend money to cheat finally being banned.
Wait, and they're complaining about it? I don't understand. They're actually, the hackers are upset they're getting banned?
Yeah, I mean, they're like, oh, I fucking paid money for these cheats and now my account's banned.
Well, screw them. Yeah, they can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's a joy. Love to hear that. Didn't really experience many cheaters this week, so seems like Ricochet, maybe it's like self-aware, dude. It can learn.
Yeah. My question is, so there's waves of bans, right? But I thought that the point of like Ricochet was to like immediately ban people, or is it like building a catalog of cheaters and then it all gets rid of them at once, or is it instantly, I don't understand the mechanic of that.
I think I expect or hope that there are certain things like that now, hopefully with Ricochet trigger, like an automatic ban. But I got to imagine addition to that is like they're collecting a large amounts of data. They're flagging accounts. Like, let's say someone has a really good game, like they hit 100% of their headshots or something, like me throwing out a random example. I don't think it'd be fair to just instantly ban that. They got to kind of see repeated behavior. They got to see trends. So I imagine, maybe they have these time frames where they're like, okay, we're monitoring these accounts. Now we've flagged them. Now, okay, we flagged them again. All right, these guys are fucking cheating. We're going to issue now a ban wave of all these ones that have been flagged and confirmed. They're now out of here. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I don't know either. I did see a video, and I'm not sure if we talked about this last week. My memory's not all there, but there was a guy that was getting shot at, and he was like, oh shit, I'm getting shot at. And then like the guy that was shooting at him, his bullets were just like useless. It wasn't doing anything. His gun was going off, but it wasn't causing any damage. And it was because Ricochet had like basically like totally, nerfed this guy's shit. Like it recognized he was cheating, and in the moment didn't allow him to like cause any damage to anybody. And the guy ended up slaughtering him. And it was kind of like, oh shit, this is it in action. But I guess there's like the in-game, and maybe it does that as it's like warning. It's like a warning almost. Like, I think that you're cheating. I'm sensing the cheating, so I'm gonna nerf you for a sec. And then like if it's recognized multiple times, then it just gets them out of there.
Yeah, I believe that was a streamer. That was a really cool clip. Again, like that's the thing is when they don't give us peeks behind the hood or official information, we just can only kind of speculate. But it did seem like, yeah, what they had done is this guy was flagged as a cheater, so as opposed to banning him, as opposed to shadow banning him, they just let him play and then nerfed the shit out of him, basically made him worthless, which to me, like, that is some cool shit. Like, that's how you counter cheating right there.
Yeah, because then they get killed and it's painful for them in the moment, which is like really sweet shit.
Yeah, and as opposed to investing that time in creating a new account or finding workarounds to their cheat, they're just wasting time. It's kind of genius to me. Like, to that, you troll the shit out of these trolls.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. And it is, it's like give them a taste of their own medicine. Like there's nothing they can do against, it's like perfect.
Love it. So certainly some positives, among this change, among kind of the slow and steady slog here in the Warzone. As we wait to see what's coming with Season 2. That said, last week we talked about, our hope to someday commentate, that we'd love to do that. We enjoy that. Well, we've had some awesome listeners reach out, and one of them in particular said, hey, you should check out this thing called Z League, these tournaments on Z League. And so I've checked it out. We've had some friends actually talk about it. They're essentially kind of open tournaments that anyone can play. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. And it doesn't seem like they have any like big major ones that, they have streaming. But, I figured as a call to action out there for the amateur community, if you, find yourself organizing a Z League tournament or something like that. Again, I don't know the nuts and bolts of how it works, but if there's a big one of those coming up or something, maybe let us know. Maybe we can organize a way to stream and do some commentary there.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think it's a ripe, dish, a ripe, you could say like a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like a canvas.
Opportunity?
A canvas for us to say things about people we don't know, which is something I love to do. I think it would be really fun, and I'm all about it. Not sure. We've been reached out to a few times, but nothing has quite materialized yet. So I'm looking forward to that moment.
Because, in the past, we've done commentaries on professional tournaments. We had our breakdown of the World Series of Warzone. But I think since this is the Warzone Amateur Hour community, like there's so much already of spectating these pros, of commentating over them. Like for these Z tournaments, you'd get a little bit more of the average player, we're trying to be the voice of the average Joes out there, the 9-to-5ers, the dads, the moms, the cousins, the guys that can only fit in a game or two.
The Timmies.
Don't buy the fucking blueprint. The Timmies, the Davids.
Yes.
So I think there's so many of those in these Z League tournaments, but again, don't know a ton about how it works. And maybe at one point we'll organize like a WoW custom game where we don't even take part in. Maybe we just commentate. Again, I don't know the nuts and bolts of how that might work.
Well, I actually know exactly how we could do that. We could just set up a custom game like we had done in the past. And then you and I basically are on a team with no one else, but then we just kill ourselves immediately and then we just spectate.
Look at that. The Cowboy has cracked the case. So maybe we'll be organizing that coming up. Although, I mean, we're going to be having a custom game, we really hope, coming up soon, regardless of the format. But that could be interesting. We'd love to maybe take part in something like that. So if we get enough amateurs out there to organize something, let us know. We'd love to take part in that.
I hear the little Trons in the background. I feel like that's the cue for us to wrap.
Well, we got one final thing. So last week we had an excellent listener submitting to us, hey, you guys should talk about your kill of the week. This week, I don't know if I had a kill of the week I can recall specifically, although actually I do, which ties into this new submission. So we had a second listener reach out, Duke Lukum, and said, similar to kill of the week, instead you could talk about the hot mic or the death comm of the week. And so that was on my mind this week, and I think that's an excellent idea. So listeners out there, if you get any good death comms, send us a clip of them. Cowboy, if you're out there, you get a good one, go ahead, hit the record button. You can record like the last 30 seconds or something, make a short clip. We'll get it out there. I have one uploaded that I'm going to be sending out live on our channel, but it actually ties into it was a good kill of the week and a good death comm. And it was early game on Rebirth. We landed headquarters, as is, that's what we do. And what Tron does is I always go inside of the main headquarters tower building, but I don't go up the tower. I go to the main, room, two-floor building. Well, me and a guy got into a gunfight. He rocketed me just as I downed him. So we found ourselves downed directly in front of each other. But me, for some reason, my brain was actually like working quick, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking res before this guy. So I spammed that res button like the moment it was available, and I could see him. He didn't do it quite at the same time. And I said on the mic, I'm like, I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. So it was literally a res race. We're both toe to toe laying on the ground, downed. I pop up, literally a fraction of a second, he pops up, but I managed to melee him. So that was the kill of the week. And then the death comm was, to give this guy credit, he was enjoying the game. He was like, oh, we rezzed at the same time, and kind of enjoyed that moment.
Oh, it's one of those death. That's a great story. The death comms, I'm a bit of a connoisseur of death comms, to be honest. This is a whole, people that have played with me, I like to put a lot of thought into the death comm that I'm sending somebody. I wish I got as good of ones in return, but I like to really attack, people. I get pretty brutal. Old cowgirl doesn't necessarily like to sit in the same room with me when I'm laying on some heavy death comms, because they're not, let's say they're over NC-17, if that makes sense. This is a family program, so I'm going to just leave it at that. A lot of the win of the weeks that we've been thinking about posting, I've had to pull back actually because of the mouth of mine. So I'm all about death comms and cams. All about death cams and comms, but this is a good idea. Can we do our own? Like, cause I do death comms all the time. Could I post my own death comms?
Sure. I mean, I was just going to say, like, I will give you credit. You give Oscar worthy death comms, which I know there's all these montages floating around in the community, or you'll see people post amazing death comms. I'm stunned that I haven't found like circulating a death comm of someone who killed Cowboy, because they're just so deeply passionate. Like, you're a very even keel gentleman in the world outside of, life and all of that. But when it comes to Warzone and you get killed, it's now become like almost immune to it, but I sometimes take a step back and just revel in the sheer anger, and I can hear you screaming in your home. So yes, go ahead, please submit those, but also I'm going to be capturing on the other end, the ones I get from the enemies. You do the same. Get us some more content out there. And also, again, start thinking about those kills of the week as well.
I will. Yeah, I will. All right.
Well, that is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. As we said, the loadouts are now available for purchase. So if you haven't already, get out there, get that $10,000, get yourself to a buy station. Doesn't matter when it is, unless you're playing Vanguard Royale. Get those loadouts polished up. Season 2 is on the horizon, so get back in the saddle if you haven't already.
Yeah, when is that? Is that a couple weeks? Are we talking months? Where are we at with Season 2?
February 14th, it's going to be, although that's a Monday, so I don't know if that's necessarily going to be true, but perhaps the week of, which is next week.
It's also Valentine's Day, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but, we play fucking Warzone. So that said, we'll keep tabs on what's coming there.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that I need to let my girlfriend know that, Season 2 comes out on Valentine's Day. That's what we're doing.
Got it. Get her a Nintendo and some Animal Crossing, or, maybe make her an account and get her a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the time for you to make romance in the Warzone.
Yeah, maybe I'll get her some COD points for Valentine's Day.
There we go. Buy the bundles. But a lot coming up, hopefully, with that Season 2, which we will dive into next week. So we will talk to you next week. And until then,
good luck in the gulag.